All right, guys, I need to talk about this whole Paddy the Baddy situation. Paddy the Baddy has been a prolific fighter from England, and honestly, I feel like he has been, outside of his last win up against Bobby Green, he's been more in headlines based on things he says versus how he fights. I do think Paddy's a very exciting fighter. Was a big fan of him, when I was introduced to him. But one thing I need to call out in this situation and in this video is some of Paddy's delusions, okay? Paddy just recently said in an interview that I watched, and I actually got a quote out of it, so I'm going to read the exact quote. He said this about Ilia Topuria. He said he wouldn't be where he is in the UFC if he didn't attach his name to mine, or like attach his name off of my back, or it was something like that. So it wasn't a direct quote, so my apologies. But anyways, if you go find this video, and I will clip it below, you know what, actually, instead of clipping, I'm not only going to clip it below, I'll put a link to the video below. I'm going to add it into this video here, so you guys can see it.
You called him sanitizer boy.
Yeah, that was years ago now, but yeah, I'm sick of talking about it, poor lad. He's an absolute helmet. He wouldn't be where he is in the UFC without jumping on the back of my name.
So as you see there, Paddy clearly has said that he feels Ilia would not be where he's at in the UFC if he didn't attach his name to Paddy. So the reason I got to debunk this is just solely off the facts that it doesn't make sense to me. So my first point of evidence on this is that if you were a fan of UFC like I am and watching religiously every week, I haven't missed a fight card. Like, even if I can't watch it at the time of, I'll literally tell friends and family who also watch UFC, don't text me because I'll end up watching the fight card. So with that in mind, Ilia Topuria debuted in the UFC in October of 2020. And actually, I can go and find the exact date just so you guys have it. But Ilia did debut in the UFC in 2020. Take a guess when Paddy the Baddy debuted in the UFC. It was September of 2021. So just based off that fact, right, I know Paddy could make the argument that, well, although I debuted, later, I had more fans, whatever. Let's just stick to the facts of, as a UFC fan, and let's just assume, similar to me, I have tried to dig into, regional shows. I just don't know as much about the regional scene, so I don't know where to watch those fights or when they're on. So at that point in time as well, I started watching PFL, Bellator, and shit that happened in 2021 and later. But at this point in time, I wasn't, right? The only thing I'm exposed to fighter-wise is UFC. So take that angle, right? My first introduction to Ilia Topuria was almost an entire year before I knew who Paddy the Baddy was. I found out about Paddy the Baddy through watching his fight with Luigi Vandermini, or whatever the fuck his name was. And Paddy, knocked that guy out, but he almost got KO'd himself, which is almost all of Paddy's fights when he's fighting someone who's got power. And no disrespect, I get it. It's back and forth, and Paddy got that W, and that's great. But where I'm headed with this is, Paddy believes this, okay? So this is where it's the Jared Gordon delusions, right? Of, Jared Gordon. And I've respected where Paddy's gone since that fight. I think that he's grown up and gotten a lot more mature and accepted the fact that maybe he didn't, win that fight very convincingly. I still think that Jared had a magnet of a left hand right on Paddy's chin the whole fight. But at the end of the day, Paddy saying that Ilia built his name off of himself it just doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense to me, because as a fan of the sport, I knew Ilia before I knew Paddy. So maybe I'm just one person out of this delusional thousands that Paddy believes Ilia built his name. Ilia's done already just by winning the belt in the way he did against a former and future Hall of Fame, former champ Volk, future Hall of Famer. I mean, Volk has like every adjective that you could apply UFC wise. So it's like, you just go down the list. The guy's a fucking monster. Ilia knocks him out cold. And I know that there's a bit of an asterisk there, right? So we can apply the asterisk. We'll play the game with Paddy. Apply the asterisk of Volk getting KO'd, not 90 days prior, okay? Fine. This is where your argument loses, though, Paddy. What is your argument for Ilia starching Max Holloway, who's never been knocked out? Actually, if you look at the dumb UFC stat holders, he's never been knocked down at that point. Because for whatever reason, the UFC did not count the knockdown Gaethje scored on Holloway, although Holloway literally told Joe Rogan, I was knocked down. Somehow it didn't count as a knockdown because that's just how judging fucking works in the UFC. It's the same thing as Islam not being knocked down against Moicano, but slipping. Okay, fine. How do you explain that, though? Paddy, how do you explain Topuria KOing Max Holloway in that case? Like, that's an amazing win. And so right there, I have to just say, like, any debate or anything you could say about Topuria at this point is null and void because you have not fought nearly like half the talent of what he has fought. Like, I fucking love Bobby Green, but like, if you look at the matchup of it, Paddy is like, every fight Paddy's had, he is in the green in terms of it going in his favor, right? So the fights Ilia's had, it was that way as well, except for the fact that when he goes and fights Volk and Max Holloway, I don't really see how on paper Ilia's in a favorable matchup against those guys, given their acumen in the sport, their history in the sport, their experience in the sport. So right there, I have to say, like, I've always been kind of shocked by Ilia's fame, but my final point on this that I had to pull together is not only was Ilia in the UFC before Paddy, but Ilia, okay, when I looked and I tried to do some research, I tried to use the Wayback Machine to see, like, okay, 2020, who had, like, what was their following like, right? To see, like, does Paddy have an angle here? What do you fucking know? I look it up. Ilia, in October of 2023, had 3 million followers on Instagram. Okay? Today, Ilia has almost 7 million followers on Instagram. And that's not the telltale sign that, like, I mean, it kind of is popularity-wise, but this is just one metric of digging into that data and saying, okay, like, who is more popular, who built their name off of whom, so on and so forth. So right here, like I said, Ilia's got 3 million followers in 2023, October. Paddy the Baddy, as of today, has 3.4 million followers on Instagram, 2025. So Ilia almost has double the amount of following that you have on Instagram. So, like, in what world has Ilia built his name off of your back? It doesn't make any sense to me. Ilia has actually, he's truly built his name on his own. Like, I think that it did help him get probably more recognition with other fans who aren't like Barstool dick riders. You know, I fuck with Barstool, but like, I know that so being that I'm not a casual MMA fan, I watch it every weekend. I did notice with Paddy kind of coming into the UFC, there was an influx of those like Barstool fanboys, which no disrespect, but like they kind of came in when Paddy was fighting, right? And so I do know Paddy had his own fan base, but to say that Ilia built his name off of Paddy, it's just absolute delusion, and it's just absolute wrong. Like, there is no argument you can make to me to convince me that Ilia without Paddy wouldn't be where he's at. Ilia is where he's at because he's had exciting performances and just pretty much demolished all opposition. Like, no one's even had really a chance against Ilia except for Jai Herbert, who knocked him down and then got KO'd himself. Like, no one else has really stood a chance. I mean, Volk had a great showing. Volk and Holloway both had great showings against Ilia, but the way Ilia fights, it's similar to Tom Aspinall. It's like, it's all good until you're out, and he finds a way to win the fight. So I just had to post this because I just feel like, as a fan of the space, I think that it's just wrong for people like Paddy to go out here and say like someone built their name off of him when it's just not factual. I mean, there are just so many data points that we can look at to suggest or even help prove either side. And when you look at the facts, just these two facts that I've dug into on this video, Ilia is in the UFC before Paddy. So right there, it's not like Ilia got entrance to UFC off of Paddy's name. And then the second fact is just look at their following. Ilia is almost doubling, or he's more than doubling Paddy's following on Instagram alone. I don't know, all the socials, but let's just take Instagram as that example. It's not like neck and neck, right? It's not like Ilia is like a few 100,000 or even 1 million. Like, he is several million more followers than Paddy the Baddy. So I will never subscribe to the fact that Paddy gave Ilia a name. Ilia's built his name by having great performances and being a skilled fighter, and now a champion who's, moving on to bigger and better things. And ultimately, Ilia is now in lightweight division, and he is going to be more highly touted than Paddy will in the lightweight division. So who's really building off of who? It's Paddy, I think, now, who will probably sink his teeth in and build a name off of Ilia even more so. But neither one of them is building a name off one another. I believe that both fighters are very skilled in their aspects of MMA and have built names for themselves. And if anything, the two of them might have just helped catapult one another to different audiences, but no one is building a name off of the other fighter at this point. That's my spiel. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment below what you think or your thoughts on this situation, how you feel about Paddy and some of the things he said. And ultimately, if you're a fan of MMA content, you should subscribe to the channel because I'll be posting a ton more. Thanks for watching.